Hi, I'm Lynda Mettler, transformational life coach and owner of Your Wisdom Coaching. I call this work transformational because of the approach to psychotherapy that I practice that's now being enrolled in the coaching field called internal family systems. If you've heard of family systems, this is different. This is about our inner world. It's extremely healing and powerful, and is the reason why I love this work and why I left a 30+ year career in marketing and advertising to do it full time. When I experienced this work, I was transformed, and I knew right from that moment that this is the work I wanted to bring to others. I'm going to take just a few minutes to walk you through what internal family systems is. You know what we call parts, your thoughts and emotions. You may know them when they come up in some sort of conflict. For example, this woman you see here, she's doing some house hunting. Maybe she's just toying with the idea of it and poking around on Zillow or some other website, comes across a house that looks attractive. And as she starts to think about the prospect of moving, a worried part comes up, concerned that the kids aren't going to want to move, or maybe she won't make friends in the new location, or won't be able to find a job, whatever that feels like. And then, as she considers it further, a part of her that hates moving, hates packing, gets fired up. And now she's feeling conflicted, right? Oh, all of a sudden, now she's ready to shut off the computer. These are what we call parts, a part that gets worried, a part that gets angry, that get activated in response to something you're thinking about or some other external influence, experience. But what would it be like if all of a sudden some other way of being showed up, or we had access to some other way of being that felt grounded and was able to, instead of shutting off the computer, make a different decision. Let those parts of her that are worried or angry or frustrated or afraid, let them know that there's somebody else here, someone who can make a reasonable decision based on some of the other things, some of the other factors, like she really does want another house. The kids may have a better opportunity. There may be better job opportunities. Is able to take all of that into consideration and make a decision from a grounded, reasonable, confident place. That's what internal family systems is all about. So, parts work, which you would typically do with a therapist or a coach, or maybe even on your own, there are some resources for that. But it's a guided conversation between you and your thoughts and feelings. In this work, the goal is to help you gain greater access to that grounded part of you I mentioned earlier, what we call self. It allows you to build a relationship between that self, that grounded, confident, calm, connected person that you are, with the parts of you that often get in your way, or what we would say, take over the seat of consciousness. So you shift from a dialogue of I am angry to there's a part of me that's angry. And because you now have a sense of somebody else, some other way of being, this self that I'm talking about, this calm, confident part of you, you can let that anger know that you see it here and you want to hear what's activated it. But ultimately, you're going to be the one to make the decision or decide how to react or respond. So, what does this come from? In the paradigm of internal family systems, we believe, or internal family systems posits, that at our core, we have this whole, complete, undamaged self, unaffected by whatever life experiences we've experienced. It's calm, confident, clear headed, creative, curious, courageous, compassionate, and connected. And it's compassionate not just toward others, but toward you and the experiences that you've been through. This is all available to you. It's all in there. Everyone has this, all of these characteristics, this sense of calmness and centeredness. But sometimes, because of life experiences, it becomes harder to access. And we develop what we call exiles. And I don't want you to get worried too much about what exiles are, but they're experiences that have been caused by pain, shame, grief, fear, or guilt. And we push them out of the system because we're afraid that we're going to make the same mistake that we made to cause them into being, or that somebody else has brought upon us and we are trying to protect ourselves from. We don't like the way this feels, and we fear that it's going to get into our way and it's going to push people away. There's a whole lot here that I don't want to bore you with right now. But at the end of the day, what's important is to know that we don't want to feel this way anymore. So we develop an outer defense system. It's all inside, so it's kind of an inner defense system, but it's an outer shell to that exile, to the pain, shame, grief, fear, or guilt that I talked about earlier. And this outer defense protects that young part, but it also blocks us from that, all those great seeds, that self that I talked about before. And these are just reactions. These are triggers. These are our ways of being in the world so we don't get hurt again, or so we don't feel vulnerable in the same way. There's a lot to this. And if we have a conversation, I can explain it a little better in relation to your own experiences. But you might recognize some of these, what we call parts. The inner critic is the one that tells you you're not good enough, thin enough, smart enough. The taskmaster is the one that keeps you working all the time, trying to check things off your list. The perfectionist, I know the perfectionist. It will probably have me re-record this 6 or 7 times. I've already recorded it several times. The analyzer, I also know the analyzer. It's the one that does all the thinking for me. It looks at the situation, decides whether or not it's safe, decides how to be in that scenario, and then it kind of guides my way of thinking. The helper or fixer, these are parts that want to jump in and make sure everybody else is okay, or solve a problem. A judge, one that criticizes others, like the critic, except the critic usually criticizes us. An avoider, one that often responds to the taskmaster or one of the others on the other side of the list, the ones that drive us. This is one that tells us to go do something else so that we don't have to drive ourselves so hard. An indulger that sends you to a bottle of wine or to the refrigerator. A distractor, one that may have you watching television or reading a book instead of feeling the way that you're feeling, or doing something that you feel like you should do. A victim, one that feels like if everybody else would change, I'd be fine. Or a worrier. I know the worrier too. One that worries, always projects fears from the past out into the future. These are all normal, by the way. These are all vital to our survival. The thing is that sometimes they get in our way. And by the way, you may not be familiar with some of them, but be really familiar with others. That is normal. They get in our way, they distract us, they keep us from accomplishing what we want to accomplish, they block our courage from advocating for ourselves, they make us feel self-doubt, they run our show, make us feel imbalanced, stressed, worried, anxious, overwhelmed. They block our creativity. And again, they're doing vital work and they're in us all the time and they're doing important things. And sometimes we're fine and they don't get in our way. But when they do, it can really disempower us, block our productivity. So, doing parts work helps you learn about what these parts are doing for you, what their role is, why it matters. But it also helps you build teamwork so that you have greater access to that calm, confident, clear headed, creative, curious, courageous, compassionate, connected you. So you can be in the world more solidly, more comfortable in your own shoes, and understand when these parts get activated that this is not you. I'm not angry. Just a part of me is angry. And I can work with that so that you're responding instead of reacting, so that you're not triggered, or so that if you are triggered, you still have another way you can access so you can feel more grounded and make a better decision. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, or it sounds good to you, I encourage you to reach out to me or look into ifs-institute.com for more information. You can look up internal family systems on Psychology Today. There are books that you can do this work on yourself. But whatever resource you choose, I really encourage you to take a look into this. It's so powerful and so transformative. It creates lasting change in a way that not a lot of other approaches that I've tried anyway have been successful. Let me know if I can help, even if it's just to provide you some resources. Thanks for checking in. Take care.